Between 1931 and 1937, the Japanese army had invaded Manchuria and created a demilitarized zone in East Hebei and a Mongolian puppet state around Chahar, and fought the Chinese in Shanghai. Fumimaro Kono became the prime minister in mid-1937, but the army, which had conducted the war largely independently, had taken over many positions within the government. In China, Chiang Kai-shek, realizing he would have little support from the League of Nations, strengthened his relationships with Nazi Germany to improve his armies. And with war looming, he had united many of the warlords and communists into a united front. But some like the Guangxi clique and Shaanxi ran virtually independent states, and Xinjiang was in a state of war and under Soviet influence. Plus, after years of war, China's army was left weak. But in early July 1937, Japanese soldiers who had conducted military exercises outside Beijing for decades exchanged fire with Chinese soldiers. The Japanese army responded to this, the Marco Polo bridge incident, with a full-scale invasion without the support of Kono. Within a month they quickly captured Beijing and Tianjin, crushed a mutiny in Hebei, and continued south to Taiyuan. Chiang responded by attacking the Japanese in Shanghai, but over 200,000 Japanese reinforcements arrived in Shanghai and by November captured the city. The Japanese then captured Nanking, the capital of China, in December, and over the next month carried out the rape of Nanking, killing and raping hundreds of thousands. They split their conquests into puppet regimes and continued on to the new Chinese capital, Wuhan. To delay their advance, the Chinese flooded the Yellow River. This, however, killed many Chinese and devastated the region. This controversial tactic encouraged many to join the communists and didn't even stop the Japanese from taking Wuhan in October 1938. The warlord of Sichuan, Liu Xiang, had died a year earlier, so the KMT moved their capital to Chongqing, ending the autonomy of the region. The Japanese bombed Chongqing, but decided to capture port regions like Fuzhou, Canton and Hainan in late 1938 and early 1939, hoping to blockade the Chinese. While in the north, the new puppet state of Mengjiang was expanded. However, the Japanese then suffered a string of defeats. First in April, their advance inland on Suizhou failed, and the communists fought a successful guerrilla campaign against the Japanese. Plus, under the new Prime Minister Hironobu Kichiro, Japan was forced to sign a non-aggressive pact with the Soviets in August after they lost a border skirmish at Khalkhin Gol in Mongolia. In the north, the Muslim generals of the Ma clique prevented Japan's Mongolian allies from pushing west, and stopped Japanese agents from contacting Tibet and forming an alliance. Kono returned to power as Japan made their first failed attempt to take Changsha in September 1939, and their invasion of Guangxi also failed. In early 1940, the Chinese unsuccessfully countered, but it caught the Japanese off guard and a stalemate ensued. However, many atrocities continued to take place. For instance, in Manchuria, Unit 731 conducted medical experiments on prisoners. But Kono and the Toshiha faction still hoped to unite Asia and created the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere and a new puppet state in China led by Chiang's old rival Wang Jingwei. And they signed the Tripartite Act with Italy and Germany, bringing Japan into war against the Allies. In September 1940, they moved into Indochina, and in 1941, now under Tojo, they invaded Hong Kong, Malaysia, and attacked Pearl Harbor, starting the Pacific War. Japan's alliance with Germany stopped the Nazis sending supplies to Chiang, and the Soviets stopped sending aid to China because Shen Shikai, the warlord of Xinjiang, broke his alliance with them when he thought the Nazis would win. So the Allies had to fly aid over Japanese-controlled Burma, but this helped tie down over 1 million Japanese troops in the region, and repel further Japanese assaults on Changsha and Sichuan in 1943. Meanwhile, despite 3 million soldiers being killed during the war and millions more civilians, the Chinese army continued to grow in size, and they even sent troops to help fight in Indochina and Burma. But in 1944, with the Americans closing in the Pacific, the overstretched Japanese made their final assault south. Operation Ichigo was a success and helped to create a land route to Indochina, but the subsequent campaigns proved to be inconsequential. In August 1945, the Americans dropped the atomic bombs on Japan while the Soviet Union invaded Manchuria, forcing Japan to surrender. China got Taiwan from Japan and temporarily occupied northern Indochina, but Chiang refused to take over Indochina, allowing the French to move in again. This is because the Soviet Union helped strengthen the communists in China by giving them Manchuria. So many warlords like Li Zhongreng in the south, Yang Xishan, Shaanxi, and Ma Bufang in Qinghai all remained loyal to Chiang to defeat the communists. However, Chiang did remove Long Yung from power in Yunnan. And the KMT even recruited some Japanese soldiers and kept them stationed in Chinese cities to stop the communists from taking over. But the nationalist corruption and misconduct during the war encouraged many people to join the communists, and the KMT was unable to stop them from taking over a few years later.